Hello, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels. Today's project is going to be these two reels, the Zebco FT-25 and the Zebco 2020. These two reels, basically they're identical, except for if you take the covers off, you will see that they have a different spinner head. Aside from that, that's it. This one has what they call the feather touch spinner head, and this one has a standard spinner head. Now this one's broken, so I'm going to have to try to repair this. Right now, both of these reels are completely frozen. Neither one will move at all. And I don't really want to put too much force on them, because if you do, you can snap the teeth off of the pinion gear. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start this off by spraying both of these two down. Well, tell you what, let's do first. Let's go ahead, because we want to be able to access everything. So let's take the spinner heads off of them. And the only reason I put that cover on there was so I could grab hold of that without getting nasty old grease all over my hand. Let's see if we can do this. Yeah, this one's going to do it okay. All right, both of these are completely frozen. Neither one wants to turn at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to spray these down with WD-40, and I'm going to let them soak for a while. And see if we can't get that penetrating oil down inside. And I'm going to come back a little later and see if we've made any progress towards getting them to break free. I don't want to snap off the gears. And one thing that you can do, but I don't really want to do that because it's using too much force as far as I'm concerned, is you can push these axle shafts out. But for now, we're going to leave it in there. And hopefully, when I come back, after this soaks for a little while, we're going to be able to turn these. That's what I'm shooting for. I'm going to give them one more shot at WD-40. Because mostly what's probably happened is that this grease on this shaft, axle shaft going through the body, is jammed up, and the grease going through the drag shaft over here is also jammed up. So we'll let that soak for a little bit. I tell you what, let's try. This might help too. See if we can turn the drag mechanism. And there is a hole in the drag shaft, or at least there is in the 230 model, and I'm assuming there probably is in this one, although I don't see a hole. Okay, well, but that did free that up. Let's see if that freed the gear up any. It did not. Well, it freed this shaft up. This shaft is now free, so the only one holding it is the axle shaft. Let's do the same thing with this one, if we can get it to move. Let's see, which way do I need to turn that? I need to go counterclockwise. There we go, it's starting to move a little bit. Okay, now one thing I have noticed here is that this one leg right here is bent on this. It's bent down. I'm afraid if I try to straighten that, it's going to break it. So I'm thinking I might not straighten that. It's not hurting anything by being bent. And I'm thinking I will probably leave that be like that. But what we did manage to do was get this axle shaft pushed out some. There we go. Okay, that axle shaft is now free. There we go. But that still is not, there we go. Okay, that one's gonna take some soaking, I'm afraid. It's not breaking loose anytime soon. Okay, let's move over to this one, see where we stand. Okay, that part moves freely now. And this part does, but the axle shaft does not. So we're gonna let that sit. We're gonna let them soak, give them a while, and see if that penetrating oil can get down inside there. And hopefully free these up without breaking anything. It's been about an hour since I sprayed this, and let's see if it's done any good. Well, we're still not making much progress on this one. Although everything seems to be, the whole problem with this one seems to be there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put pressure down. I'm gonna set this on straight on the pan, and I'm gonna push down and see if that will come up out of there. Nope. Still frozen. And I mean, it is not moving at all. All right, let's try the other one. Okay, it's moving. It's not moving easily, but it's moving. Okay, this is the one that I was trying to get the drag wheel to move again. There we go. Okay, that one's gonna move well enough. So in the meantime, I'm gonna come back. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to screw the spinner head back onto here, and I'm gonna see if we can use the spinner head to get this moving. Okay, look right here. And it's starting to move. Okay. If we tried to use that much force just on the main gear here, we would shear that pinion gear. Grab hold of this with a rag instead. There we go. All right, well, we started to make progress. All right, let's unscrew it again now. And now we'll see if we can push it off. There we go. That popped it up out of there. There we go. That got the axle shaft out. Yeah, see, it's this dried grease right here. It was acting like a glue inside there. Now, I can spray this down with WD-40 and eventually get all that off of there, but what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put it down in this acetone and see if that doesn't help break it up even faster. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put both of them in there. Let them sit for a little bit while we see if we can't take the rest of this apart. We're gonna take the nut off of the handle. There we go. Okay, now what we're gonna have to do if you watch right here, look very closely, you will see the C-clip rotating around right here. See the opening? We want to take that opening, we want to put it down to the bottom. So then we can take our screwdriver and hook in underneath it and lift it up out of there. There we go. Be careful so that you don't shoot it across the room like I just did. All right, now we're going to unscrew this. Unscrew it all the way. Now this piece will come out. And that piece will come out. Let's go ahead at this point. Pop the C-clip off. There we go. Take off the 2 drag washers. Take off the spool. You're missing, no, it's on there, just couldn't see it. Okay, we have, there we go. And now the drag plate, and there we go. That one is completely disassembled and ready to go. All it needs is to be soaked and clean. Now let's see if we can get this one apart. Now some people would take a look at this reel and say, oh, this thing's shot. Can't do anything with that. Well, it's just dried up grease is all it is. And we should be able to get these back up and running again. Okay, let's rotate that around. There's our C-clip again. Let's take it, turn it under, like so. Let's take it a little more under. There we go. There we go. That's got that clip out. This one is really gummed up. We should, at this point, be able to get this gear out, but it still doesn't want to move. So we're going to have to keep going this way and pull out on it at the same time we're rotating it and see if we can get it to start twisting its way off of that shaft. Now the gear's trying to rotate backwards as we turn this. You have to keep it pushed in against that anti-reverse dog under there, or else it's going to just spin on you. Now this has already come unscrewed out of this, so what I'm having to do is twist it and pull out to get it to slide off of that shaft. There. Now we can take out the gear. There we go. There's our E-clip out. There's our washers. And our washers. And our drag plate. And again, we have 2 reels here completely dismantled, ready to be cleaned up and put back together. So we're going to do that. One of these reels I'm going to put together kind of in a fast forward silent motion, and the other one I'm going to explain as we go along. All right? But in the meantime, I'm going to get everything cleaned up, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Okay, in the cleanup of these 2 reels, I still haven't cleaned up the 2020 yet, but I did clean up the FT-25, and what I have found is that the 2020 is missing this piece right here. Now, I had another one that was doing this, that had the same problem yesterday, and I was able to get one out of a parts reel. I don't have another parts reel for that piece. So I'm going to be able to put this one together, but it's going to be missing for now its anti-reverse. So just wanted to let you know. And just don't see it in here, so apparently it wasn't there. Okay, so we're ready to start assembly. I think it's going to be smart to go ahead and assemble the spool first. I got to thinking about this. I said, you know what? No, not yet. Hang on. First piece we're going to put in is the the drag mechanism. We're going to slide that in, and we're going to take the sleeve here. Before we put this in, let's go ahead and lubricate it, because it was extremely tight earlier. So we're going to slip this in, slide that in, and screw that down. With that in place, I can come back, put this clip back in, C-clip. All right, the C-clip is sprung slightly. So what we're gonna do, well, it seems to want to stay though, but we're gonna pop it back out because it just kind of fell into place. So what we're gonna do, if you ever encounter this problem, don't get too carried away with it. But what you can do is you can take and kind of look at it and see which side seems to be the most pushed out. And then you can give it just a little bit of a squeeze back in. And that should be enough to recreate the tension that it needs. Yeah, there we go. There. Now that's in there properly. Now remember, this wheel, this leg here is bent, but I don't see that it's causing any problems, so I'm not going to try to bend it back the other way. With that done, we can go ahead and put your drag plate back in. Make sure that this is all the way counterclockwise as far as it will go. That will lower this plate down as far as it can go. Next, we're going to reinstall the spool. Nope, we're not. We're going to install the bottom drag plate, drag washer. Then we're going to install the Teflon drag washer. At that point, we'll come back and put the spool in place. And if you look, you should see when you push that spool down that you've got a gap in there, or that center should be standing proud of it, and it does. So now we're ready to put in the next Teflon drag washer, then the next metal drag washer, and this is the one that you've got to get to go on to the post, like so. And I mean, it's going to fit right at the top. Then come back and put your C-clip or E-clip, whichever one you want to call it. Make sure it's going in. There we go. Make sure your spool will still move, and it will. Now, you should be able to tighten that drag up by tightening your drag wheel over here. Definitely, without a doubt. Yeah. Okay. So now we want to come back and put our anti-reverse dog in. That's this one right here. And I'm going to have to look around and see if I've got one of those. And it goes in with the long side facing towards the bottom of the reel. This is the top of the reel here. This is the bottom, and the long side should be facing towards the bottom. And then that little stud goes in that hole like that. With that done, you need to oil the shaft. And see this is your anti-reverse lever here. That has to go into that slot right there. Let me bring it up here so you can see it better. That has to go into that slot right there on the anti-reverse dog. So that's going to be that post right there into that lever. And it should go like that. Once you've done that, you should be able to turn the wheel easily. And then when you go to turn it back the other way, it should lock. And that's what it's supposed to do. Now we're ready to oil up the axle shaft. And I like to slide this in from the front side first, just to spin it around and get it to get in the hole and lubricate well. Then come back and put it back in from the back side. Once you've done that, that should lock into place. Now, if you want at this time, you can go ahead, once your line is out of your way, it actually helps to put a rubber band around those. Put your spinner head back on, and that locks it in place. So now your axle shaft can't come out. Once you've done that, you're ready to slide this back into the case. Now, when I did, no, you're not. We have to grease up the main gear first. Let's go ahead and put grease on the teeth only of the main gear. Now, if you're sitting here holding on to the spinner cap, trying to get this to rotate, is not going to, because the spinner cap has to be able to rotate also. Okay, grease up your pinion gear. Like so. Okay, that feels really nice, especially considering it wouldn't even turn 2 hours ago. Okay, before you put this in, put a little dab of grease right there on that button where the push button is going to impact on your axle shaft, and then slide this back in. There we go. All right, once you got that, put your line in, your cap, pull it through, make sure the line's not trapped under anything. Like so. Okay, I'm gonna have to try to do something with this because it's hitting on the head. So I'm going to try to slightly bend it without, there. I just wanted enough that it's not hitting the head, and that's what I have. So I'm not gonna bend it any more than that because I'm afraid it'll break it. All right, with that done, we're gonna put our handle back on. Tighten down the nut. And let's see what we've got. Push the button. Line comes out nowhere near as freely as it should because it's all tied up in there. We're going to strip all that off. And winds nicely. Let's see what we've got for drag. Oh, too much drag. Back it off. There we go. It's smooth. It is. Can I go more? Yes. How about the anti-reverse? It works fine. All right. There is the Zebco FT-25. It's for Feather Touch 25. And this one's ready to go. I'm going to now go into fast forward mode, slap this other one together, but it's going to be without the anti-reverse dog, unless it shows up somewhere while I'm doing this, which I don't expect it to. I don't see it anywhere here, so I'm pretty sure it's missing. And we'll slap that together, and I'll come back together right at the very end. I'm back. There it is. It was somewhere in here. It was not where it belonged, but it was somewhere inside here, because when I picked this up, it fell out. So I think it was up in one of these slots in the front side. I don't think it got there when I took it apart. I think it's been there for a long time. Because there's no grease on it. And everything that was in that area was just super greasy. So I think it must have fallen out with the previous owner. And that's okay because we're going to get it back together. All right, well, now we have a Zebco 2020 and a Zebco Feather Touch FT-25 that are both fully functional again. And I am glad I was able to find that. Drags are good, nice and smooth on both of them. But I was able to find that anti-reverse dog. It was inside that reel. And there you have them. If you have ever done the 2030, it's basically the same as the 2020. All of these reels are the same pretty much as far as how they go together. As a matter of fact, I believe the parts are interchangeable internally, except for the spools and the cases. But as far as the gear trains, I think they might even be interchangeable parts. So now, I will say this one's complete and ready to go. The 2020 is still missing the rubber for the front. So I've got to do that. So I now have like 3 of these that have to have rubber replaced on there. And once that's done, those will be moving out of here too. If you like what you saw here today, please hit the like button. If you don't like it, by all means, hit the dislike button and tell me what it is you didn't like about it. If you would like to see more videos like this in the future, and you haven't previously subscribed, please do so. You know what? I'm going to take a chance on it. It's driving me crazy that this thing is bent. And I'm going to try. There you go. That's what happens. Well, before you start worrying about this broken post, don't worry about it too much. Because I've got this reel here. This is another one of my 25-cent reels. And it has a gear grumble. This is even after I've serviced it. It's still, the gears in it are bad. So this is going to become a parts reel. So I'll be getting the drag wheel assembly off of this one and putting it on the Pro Staff FT-25. And this one here is going to become a parts reel. So I just couldn't send that out with that bent like that. And then I had to risk it. And once I risked it, it broke. I was like, well, okay. But it's not going to become a parts reel. This one is, because it really needs to be a parts reel anyway. All right. So for now, that's Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels signing out.